Hello and welcome. Well, today we are looking at the Ameri Controversy. Now, it's amazing because since March this year, ASAP, released a statement. I indeed borrowed that statement, did further research, that's my opinion about it. But somehow, even though the state was buying 10 individual plants combined with barges and everything to produce energy, we were all fixated on car power. Eventually it landed. And then we closed our mind and forgot about all the rest. Now it's the Amery. Is anybody asking what's in the contract or the other 8 that are out there, or are we just going to wait for another Norwegian to write another report before we go to see what it is that the deals that our states are signing on our behalf? Then there's another shocking revelation. All these things happen to go through Parliament. They're both sides of Parliament. There's the upper house and the lower house, or the MPP and the NDC. And none of them will raise red flags. Even if they did, maybe it wasn't loud enough for us to hear. Except they've been condemned. But is there a cause for alarm, or is this how dealings work? That's what I'm here to talk about today. And I want to break this conversation down probably to maybe class 3. That's where I want to come down to. So you and I really and truly understand what's going on out there. Now, with me in the studio are people who understand and can break this down for us. I have with me Dr. Ishmael Aka, Head of Policy Unit at ASAP. And then I have my senior brother, lawyer Kwame Jantua, energy expert and a lawyer, and also member of the CPP. But before I even go to the break and come back, let me say it's a big happy birthday to my brother, Dr. Ishmael Aka. Happy birthday, brother. Happy birthday. Yeah, we'll come back and wish him a further ahead. My name is Nana Sakwa. This is PM Express. When we come back, we are breaking down the Ameri Controversy. The move. Well, thank you very much for staying, and we are looking at the Ameri Controversy. We're trying to break it down to understand if indeed there is a cause for alarm. And if there is, should we look into all the other plants that there is? Because these are not the only plants. Indeed, there are other major plants that have been purchased. It's just that we, the media, just get so fixated in what's in the news and then forget about the others. How did it start? Over the weekend, a Norwegian journalist published their story, that the investigation that during signing the contract for this power plant, there was one person who was being looked for by the Norwegian authorities. It then went on further to say that Ghana may have paid too much for this deal, and that on the market, these turbines could have been bought for 220 million, but we somehow ended up paying 510 million. Also, there's a middleman in there whom the experts seem to understand. Why should there be a middleman? Because Ghana could have easily gone and contracted the turbines. You don't necessarily have to call anybody to go and do that for you. So there's all that happening. And Ministry of Power says that, listen, we are not paying a dime for these things. All these hoo-ha you are doing, forget it. We are not paying a dime. And ASAP has responded to that. But before, I have 2 inserts of parliamentary members of the Mines and Energy Committee in Parliament commenting on it. So we use that as a premise to start this conversation. So if we stay tuned, we will listen to them.
If we rent it for them to provide us the service for 5 years, after which they will take it away, it's $471 million. $471 million. So that means they will take $471 million at the end of the 5 years, after which they will take the plants away, because it doesn't belong to us when it comes to rental. Then the BOOT gave us $510 million. But after the 5 years, it becomes the property of Ghana. So these were the 3 scenarios. So the first option, we saw that the lead time and looking at the economic loss for that 1 year, it will be better to go for the third option, which is the BOOT.
But one thing the Power Minister is now being accused of is the fact that the figure he presented to Parliament at the time was 411 million. And the release he released yesterday, says that the plant's cost is $220 million.
$220 million for the units. We have to be very careful. If you have the cash to go and buy, if I have the money today and I want to buy the unit, it will cost me $220 million. But we don't have the money.
220 compared to 411. That's almost...
411 was when you borrow.
When you borrow. Then
when you decide I'm going to borrow.
But this almost times two when you have the money. So why not, why not find the money? And
where do we have the money? Where do we have the money?
So government and even, your committee found it wise that we should go ahead, and spend almost a double of the amount.
It's not about double. It is when the options are limited. You look at the possible best option.
And the best option for the country is to pay almost a double of the actual amount that will cost the country.
You have to understand. So we don't have money to buy. Should we sit down for businesses to collapse? Should we sit down for Ghanaians to be laid off? Should we sit down for revenue that would have come to government to cover more than what is being lost, what we are paying for? Should we leave it?
Some members on the minority side are saying that this deal was rushed through Parliament, and that's why many people now feel that you did not do due diligence.
I'm not sure it was rushed. When it came to Parliament and we had issues, we referred them to bring the various options with the calculations. I know very soon we'll provide you with the details they brought back to us.
The other accusation too is the fact that you have led us astray. This is a deal that was approved by Parliament, and we end up finding out that one of the key persons who was involved in this deal is on the wanted list of Interpol, and Parliament couldn't do any background checks about this.
As far as we are concerned, Parliament in the first place do not have that apparatus to do much intelligence. When Parliament attention is drawn, we do our due diligence. But before that, Attorney General will go through it, the Ministry will go through it, they do due diligence.
I saying that when such issues come, Parliament do not do background checks on who we are dealing with, because I still remember the time.
When we do, the one who signed it, the main man who we knew signed it and we saw his signature, was the sheikh and not the person you are talking about.
But that person too is a signatory.
I'm saying that the main person, the person who owns it and signed, is the sheikh. He's the main person who signed.
So the point you're making is that if you have the chance to sign another deal like this, you still go for it?
As far as I'm concerned, and look at the various options, I'll still go for BA.
Ameri contract came before the Committee of Mines and Energy. We perused it, and some concerns were raised. The cost element of it, and also the beneficial interest holders on the other side. Our research came up that we could have purchased the machines for around $220 million. We raised that question, and the answer given to us was that the machines were required on an emergency basis, and it was not the time that we're going to now go around GE in particular to order the machines, which would have taken about 9 months. That's what they said.
So how many days did the Mines and Energy Committee have in perusing this document?
This is where the problem was. That was rushed. The document came before us a day before the meeting was held. I think it was in the evening that the documents came to us, and then we met over it for a few hours. And this is the problem with the way Parliament works. Everything is rushed. Everything. The executive will wait and just bring stuff in on a rush basis, and it really, I must be honest, it's not very good. It's not the best.
So you had less than 24 hours to pass such a major deal on energy?
Came before us for us to
scrutinize.
Yes, to scrutinize. I mean, we are not lawyers. Members of the committee are not lawyers, and we don't have lawyers there to help us in doing our job, especially when you have a big word of legal document.
Yes, you didn't look at it with legal lens, but in this very few hours, you had to scrutinize this document. Clearly, you had concerns. You couldn't properly deal with it, and this is where we are now, isn't it?
No, we raised the question, but you see, the document didn't just come to us. It's been through the Attorney General, the Cabinet that passed it. It comes to us, we peruse it, we raise concerns, it goes to the floor, and Mr. Speaker asks his questions, all those in favor and all those against, and we vote on it. Voice vote.
But what about the Mines and Energy Committee itself? Did you do due diligence on behalf of Ghanaians?
Of course, for the time that we had, the time that was allotted to us to deal with this particular agreement, we did the best I believe we could. Concerns were raised on some of the clauses in the agreement, plus the price. And the reasons why they gave have been defeated.
The Ameri Controversy, and with me in the studio right next to me is the very young doctor, Dr. Ishmael Aka, and behind the scenes we were kind of teasing him that, he doesn't even wear lenses, those days when they said a doctor was coming, my brother and I were having a little tease. That was awful. Good faith. Happy birthday again. And lawyer Kwame Jantwa, energy expert. Kwame, you're welcome.
Thank you, Nana.
And I want to start with Dr. Ishmael Aka, speaking from ASEP. There's so many angles to this. I don't know where to come from, but the voices we heard, the first one was Wakilu Adams, who is the vice chairman of the Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. And then the second one was William Ureku Edo, who is a member of the same committee, Mines and Energy Committee of Parliament. But I'm sure by now you should be satisfied with Mutawakilu's that we don't have the money. We need the energy. So it's either you give me 220 now, or you pay me in bits and pieces, and I put my interest on it. I mean, it should clear the air by now.
Yeah, I think that a good evening to viewers. We don't have the money, that is true. And there are two options. Whether we get it now and pay later, we spread the payment so that probably we do annual payments. That is what we've gone for. So within 5 years, we pay annually. Then at the end of the 5 years, it becomes ours because we don't have outright money. What we did wrong was that there are 4 institutions involved here. We have GE, General Electric. We have METCA. We have Amery, then Ghana. These are 4 institutions. Now Ghana contracts Amery for the badges, for the turbines. Amery does not have a turbine. Amery goes to METCA. Bring me a turbine, come build and operate for Ghana. Then METCA goes to GE to buy. So you see, between Ghana and GE, there are 2 middle institutions. What METCA is charging is $350 million. So what it means is that if they bought the machine 220 from GE, they've added 130 million to it. Then from 350, we are paying 510. It means that we are giving Amery $160 million as a middleman. Okay. What we are saying is that we could have still eliminated this middleman and saved $290 million. And had the same agreement with GE. The fact is, GE is not the only institution producing this. There's even Wasilla. There are so many. And this build, own, operate system, Wasilla is having with Indonesia and some other countries. So we could have sat down. This is what we want.
But GE sounds like a big name, I mean, these other ones, I don't doubt their credibility, but GE sounds like a big, reputable
Yeah, it's a very big institution. And what the MP, I'm just responding to what the MP is saying, is that GE is selling, and we don't have the outright money to go and buy. So we have to get it. What we are saying is that we could have gone to GE, get it on this build, own, operate, and transfer system, and pay GE in 5 years. We could have spent less than 300 million for this.
Could it be that GE wants their cash? I mean, and therefore these guys would have to go and borrow the money from somewhere, pay GE off, and then they will, subsequently pay the interest from wherever it is they borrowed it from?
I mean, that could be an angle. But what we are saying is that, did we even search for alternatives? If GE is selling, there are so many other companies building turbines and barges. Did we open, let's have a competitive bidding process. Let us write to 100 companies. Let us write to Lawyer Jantua. We need 250, but we don't have money, we can pay this. Then let them bring their bids. When they come, we evaluate them based on the cost, so many other terms. Then we select the best one for Ghana. We didn't do. We said we needed time. We were not having time. So GE said, even if we want to build for you, it will take 9 to 12 months. Now we say we don't have time. We went for this. And the agreement, when we signed, the badge was delivered 9 months later. So instead of waiting, for instance, to save about 290, we went straight. So it is, yes, we didn't have the outright money as in 220. But when it comes, we prepared for at least the first year payment. That is about $120 million. And that could have bought half of the capacity GE could have given us. So we didn't have the 220, but we could have raised about 120 to buy half that capacity, about 125 megawatts.
Kwame, Doomsaw has been going on for 4 years. I mean, there was immense pressure. I want our power like yesterday. I mean, I don't think there was the luxury of, it's a matter of, who's going to give it to me tomorrow, let me sign it and bring it.
Nana, good evening to fellow Ghanaians. I am lost for words that another project, major project that is taking place in Ghana has question marks on it again. When I hear this Ameri Controversy, I ask myself, when is this going to stop?
Is there controversy, or is it just because of lack of explanation?
It's a controversy because of some of the things Doctor has outlined just now. Are you saying that if Ghana went to GE direct, the president himself went to GE direct and said, this is what we need, let's do a deal, GE would turn their head? Is that what we're saying?
But we can't say for sure now, can we?
Well, then, you see, at the present moment, one of the major challenges we have in this country is the fact that we have banks that have no teeth to bite. Because really and truly, if we could raise this amount of money through our banking system, we won't have a problem. We won't have a problem. And why is that? Because there is no trust and belief that we can support our banks. When you see the CD falling and dropping, falling and dropping, falling and dropping all the time, it's sad and it's a shame that such a project, and for me, this thing was done in February, wasn't it? Of this year. Doomsaw has been going on for how many years?
For quite a bit now.
4 years. What do you think the push is? You look at all the things that are happening in the country today. What do you think the push is? We are heading for an election in 2016. Whatever the case is, Doomsaw can't take us into 2016. Otherwise, we lose the election.
Well, but either way, businesses are also going down. So we need the energy by...
Yes, we need the energy.
means.
But if you need the energy, negotiate in such a way that the country does not lose out.
But the country is not paying anything. According to the Minister of Power, we are not paying a dime.
In 5 years, how much are we paying? The fact that we're not paying now doesn't mean we're not going to pay in the future. But the question I also ask myself, have we not invited IPPs into this country, independent power producers into this country? Why couldn't this be an independent power producer? Asogli, is there government money in Asogli? Maybe Doc can tell me if there is. Is it not a wholly private thing? Why couldn't this be the same? Why couldn't government open up and say, this is what we are looking for? We are looking for 10 turbines.
The speed was
Please, oh, please. Please. So, we would rather have the light now and not have the money for future investment? Is that what we're really looking for? Look, you see, I keep saying, nobody should take Ghanaians for granted. These tariffs that we talk about, it's not that Ghanaians don't want to pay and Ghanaians can't pay. Ghanaians want the utilities services to tell us the previous rises that you made, tell us what you used that money for. Tell us the kind of investments that you use that money for. Once we are able to evaluate and we are satisfied that the money has been invested well, we can sit pretty and say, hey, the utilities are working and working well for us. But if you can't tell me that tariffs have gone up in the past and there's no maintenance schedule that can fix those machines, there's nothing to show that is going to change, and you come back and you give me more tariffs, why do I pay? ECG, and sometimes I blame Ghanaians too. Why do I blame Ghanaians? Because why would the Ghanaian want illegal connection? Why wouldn't the Ghanaian want to pay his own bills? And sometimes too, it's not the Ghanaian themselves. It is the people within ECG who come and read the meter who will tell you, oh, chief, meter no, nobody, I can do something for you to reduce it. Where is the patriotism to make sure that things are working? This is a huge indictment. So many things are coming in. So many things that don't need to come in are coming in. It's watering everything into a certain stench that is difficult to smell. Nobody, and I'm not pointing fingers of corruption at anybody because I can't prove it and nobody has said that. From what has been narrated, it looks as if it's a bad deal in terms of negotiations. Look, when these big companies are coming in to negotiate, I'm in the oil industry. When we were doing the local content strategy and we had to bring in the IOCs, the IOCs did not bring only their people. They brought international negotiators into the room. Those people whose their profession is to negotiate, they brought them into the room. Why can't we do so? With the kinds of monies we are talking about today and the state in which our economy is in, why couldn't we do so? Why did it take Norwegian investigators to show the flag, the red flag? Why? Is it that we didn't do enough due diligence? And the question I tend to ask myself, how did government identify Amery? Why was it Amery they identified and they didn't give us a list of companies that they had opened this thing to? Look, there's one thing being transparent and there's another thing being accountable. They are two different things. And government might not have done anything untoward in terms of probably trying to make money off this deal. But the way the thing is being presented, and that is the sad thing for me, the way the thing is being presented, it looks as if there's some underhand dealings going on. I keep saying that in this country today, without social consensus where political parties are concerned, without us taking politics out of certain critical issues, we are in for big trouble.
Let me bring Doc here. Doc, the machine costs 220. the shipping properly may cost another 60, plugging it may cost another 30, the land in which it will sit, you have to acquire the land, the watchman to look after the things so somebody doesn't steal. I mean, all these things come into play. The middlemen have to be paid. So it's not as if,
Why middlemen? Nana, why middlemen?
The question.
That's what I don't understand.
Because it makes it easier.
It makes it what easier?
I mean, if I was going to do a big deal, you just get, look, you do it.
No, Nana. An individual is not like,
Yes.
An individual is not like government.
Yeah, a state.
An individual is not like the state. An individual is not like a country.
But
You can't compare the two.
The power ministry is barely 5 minutes old. Amery is probably in the industry buying these machines.
Perpetual secession.
No. This is not the first deal. The power ministry supervised the car power deal. Did you hear that we have a middleman for the car power? The power ministry supervised the Asogwe expansion. Asogwe is expanding. Did you hear that? The power ministry supervised the Nzima solar project. Did you hear there's any middleman involved? What we are saying is that this is what we need. I mean, the middlemen were not just necessary, especially when we owe Nigeria $171 million. And for the past 3 months, they've been giving us 35 million cubic feet of gas per day instead of 120. If we don't take care, the budgets will come and we will not get even gas for the other plants. Exactly. And if we have this much, I mean, if we can just be throwing money for middlemen and all this, why can't we take? That is all what we are saying. Value for money, efficient spending. So that
middlemen is just one factor. But I mean, the plants have to be serviced, they have to be transported, plugged in.
Understand.
All the fact is that
the fact is that if the cost is 220, we've already established that it will cost about $16 million in terms of maintenance and all these things a month. We are talking a year. We are talking about 80 million for the 5 years. So when you add it to the 220, we are getting 300. That is why Medca says that they are taking 350. So without Amery, even let's say the middleman was just one, Medca, we would have saved that 160 million to do something. That is what we are saying. Why do we have to take 2 middlemen for one project? So Medca says that buying the plant, coming to fix it, coming to operate it, maintain it for 5 years, it will cost Ghana 350. Then we brought in Amery. What is the role of Amery? And we are paying Amery $160 million. We are saying that that money should have been put to another better use. That is all. So there's no efficiency here, and there's no value for money. I've been calling on the government today to publish the contract so that we all see it. Because as at now, there is a lot of confusion, and these things are not just good for credibility's sake.
Let me say with you, I mean, with the other plants, and somehow you've been on this show, this is probably about the third time we're saying that there are 10 different plants that have been bought. But we were so fixated on car power, now Amery. There's the AXA and all these other ones coming. Are we waiting for some Norwegians to, raise another flag, or are we now going to go through it and see if there's something wrong there?
No, we are not waiting. And for this one, we did not wait. The contract, in fact, we saw the contract in February. In early March, ASA brought, in fact, we did a press statement, not even issued it. We did a press statement in Ghana. And all these issues we are talking about, we raised it. And when you look at the Norwegian statement, they even cited what ASA said. Unfortunately, we didn't take it that serious. I mean, as people, we didn't take it that serious. So the Norwegians came and they raised issue. One problem we are having is access to the contract. I mean, access to information. Most of the time, you won't even see it before you realize we've signed, Parliament has approved, and you can just read and do your post-agreement analysis. When you go and cancel it, judgment debt. So I think that some of these things, they should take input. When you go elsewhere, even in the UK, there are advisors. Honorable Jantua is a very experienced businessman. So if these contracts come, he's into energy, what is wrong that maybe even the Energy Committee in Parliament inviting him to share his ideas? What is wrong in publishing the contract in Daily Graphic for people to make input? But you don't see it, and it becomes so secret to the extent that By the time you see it, almost everything. So, yes, we've heard AXA is coming. We've heard so many other things. And we are trying to get some of these documents so that we can do our analysis.
Parliament is saying, the second voice we heard was William Oreku Edu, was a member, and he's saying, look, we are not lawyers. We couldn't look at it legally. They had only 48 hours. It was a 49-page document. They did the best they could. Kwame, I mean, I think it's a fair assessment. I mean, they didn't have enough time. They are not lawyers. You know,
but they did say, I did hear Honorable Wakilu say that it went to the Attorney Generals and it came back and they had a look at it. But why don't they have lawyers? Why? Why don't they have lawyers? I talked about the GE thing. Isn't GE in the energy sector in Ghana today?
It is.
They're in the energy sector in Ghana today. Yeah. And so if they're in the energy sector in Ghana today, they are familiar with the environment of Ghana and what is happening in our energy sector. Are you saying we couldn't go directly to them?
Well, I mean, if I was selling something and my brother doctor came and said, oh, I'm coming to buy, you know, your phone, but I'm going to give it to Kwame. I'm not going to call Kwame and say, well, Kwame, come and buy it directly, because I mean, I sell it to who's.
I think it should have been put on open tender. Should be put on open tender.
But that's too long.
It doesn't.
That's just a long
so
way.
So we like what is happening.
Well, not necessarily. You see, not necessarily. But you see, assuming all things are not perfect.
Yes.
So this is the best for our situation. This is the best there is.
Why?
I mean, because we are talking of the benefit of hindsight. But if, you know, they've created a ministry out of doom and they need the light on like yesterday,
let me tell you something. If the Norwegians hadn't brought this case up, would we have known anything? Doctor just said they scrutinized it. They had a press conference. Did anybody say anything about it?
No.
Okay. So this is where all of us are culpable. All of us are culpable. Especially the media. Especially the media. You see, in any country, when ASAP brought out this report, they'll pick it up. And they'll go out there and do the investigations before money even changes hands. Questions will be asked before. Don't you think if questions were asked before, we wouldn't be in the situation we are in now? If we did good due diligence, it's quite embarrassing for a Norwegian company to tell us that one of the people who are part and parcel of the negotiations is somebody who's a wanted man. What does that tell us of our own people we have sent to go and negotiate on our behalf?
But his interest wasn't our interest. We don't care what his background is. He was witnessing for somebody else. Oh, really? They have to check his background, not us.
If I'm a cocaine dealer, nobody knows I'm a cocaine dealer. I've come on your program and I'm talking. And then on Joy FM tomorrow morning, you hear Kwame Janta was on such a program, but we have evidence to show that he deals in cocaine. What does that do to you, the host?
See, it's not a fair analogy, because this guy was witnessing for the other party. So they have to check his credibility before they call
we
their
have
witness.
to do our due diligence to know who we are negotiating with.
Yes,
it's not based on the people
we are negotiating with Amery, and they're fine. But this guy is witnessing for Amery, and so Amery has to go and check their witness. I mean, we don't have to go and check their witness.
He's signing a document that our country's signature to is on that document.
I think aren't we being? I think
we're not being pedantic.
No, I think we're
not being pedantic. Why is it not fair?
Because, I mean,
how did this thing break? How did this information break that we are now sitting around the table discussing it?
Well,
how did it break?
Norwegians are chasing their wanted man.
Yes.
And they find his name on our contract.
Yes, that was the crux of it, and they now delved into
what's ASA's position on this one?
I think that it has governance, more like governance consequences, because you're signing. This is Ghana. I mean, elsewhere we have been praised as democratic. We have been praised good for good governance and all that. Then when they find out that somebody wanted somewhere was a principal witness to a contract. Yes, we didn't employ the person. I understand that one. But what it means is that, I mean, we didn't do some checks. And that also has some form of inference. They can infer that since this guy is a fraudster and he's in the contract, then A, B, and C could have happened. There could have been some underlying dealings. And then that's why they went further to check value for money. Initially, their interest was Farouk. I say, Farouk was in, then this deal may be fraudulent. And they started asking questions. They started doing this. And that is why almost all these things are coming up. So the person may not be somebody we employed. That I understand. But the fact that that person is in may have, like they say, black sheep and some of these things. The fact that that person is in may have consequences, more like perception and all these things. Yeah.
From your own research you've given me, if you permit me to read just a small paragraph. It says, the Power Minister was cited in a Norwegian newspaper and website as having signed a dubious agreement with an alleged Dubai-based fraudster, Umar Farouk Zahu, in the process of procuring the gas turbines. That is where it started from. That is where it started from. And it makes it look as if our Power Minister did not do his due diligence before going into this thing.
Now, you see, if I were the Power Minister and I was going to sign with Amery, this is a big multi-million-dollar company which exists. It's not like it just suddenly sprang up from anywhere. They come to sign and they brought their witness.
From what we hear, that company was set up almost immediately when this deal was coming forth.
So what would be the standard operator? Call Interpol and say, look, I'm doing business with A, B, C, and D. Check them out.
You do your due diligence. Come on. Come on, Nana. You do your due diligence. When you are going to buy a car, when you're going to buy a car, don't you do your due diligence on that car? Nowadays, some people even go as far up as Interpol to check to see whether that car is stolen before they even start talking to anybody, to whoever is selling the car to them.
But in this case, I mean, there wasn't as if there was anything fishy going in there. So the primary thing you check is the main guy you're signing the deal with. But the people he's brought to witness on their behalf, I mean, do we care?
Okay, that is where we are today.
For me, as I said, that is one. It puts the deal in some context. I mean, doing some deal with fraudsters and all that. But that is just aside. I think our principal issue is the fact that Ghana has been shortchanged. I mean, we could have done something better. We could have gotten a better deal, and we've had a very bad deal. I mean, we are spending so much for a country that just went to IMF, and we are begging and all those things, and there should be freezing on public sector employment and all that. So for us, I think that is the basic. We could have saved at least what we are giving to Amery. We could have saved something we are giving to Medca or another middleman. All these were not necessary. And I think that going forward, whether the person is a witness or the main person, or it is very good to just, even here, when they are employing people, people try to, they Google your name to check. Just employment, it may not be even a very big institution. Very small one, they just check your background to see. At times they even check your social media, some of the posts you've been. They do. It doesn't mean
everywhere they check.
So at times, if you want to, especially when huge monies are involved, let me know those who are coming to sign, the main person and the person is bringing. At times it puts the country, because when it happens like this, it is Ghana's power minister, not his name alone.
Exactly.
And it's almost everywhere. This is where we have to go to Norway now.
Exactly.
It's a very big discussion.
Yes.
Ghana signed a deal with the fraudster, and when you are Ghanaian, it affects you.
And that is what they said here.
So I think next time we should do a proper check.
But let me ask a question. The newspaper claims that the Power Minister paid 510 million for 5 years for the plant, which ordinarily costs 220. In explanation, the Power Minister has indicated that those are estimated cost of the turbines without the cost of auxiliaries, balance of plant, civils. When you take 510 from 220 million, how much is it?
290 left.
290. will it cost $290 million to put all these things in place?
No.
But you are the expert. But let me just...
But this is the point I'm making. Will it cost $290 million?
No.
It won't. It won't. And these are some of the things that bring the question mark. That did we do the right value, analysis to make sure that we were getting it at the right price?
Yardman Dre says, again, the agreement between Ameri Group and Government of Ghana is not for outright procurement of the turbines, but build, operate, and transfer. Besides, the man being investigated only witnessed the deal, but not the main signatory. The allegations by ASEP does not add up. Where are the lawyers? Ameri Group is an IPP, independent power producer. Frank Scott says, why can't we not reverse the deal? Reversals happen all the time in contractual agreement. Yes, they are unusually a penalty to pay, but the arbitration tends to consider the buyer's risks, thereby minimizing government's liability. These situations happen very often in the automobile industry, where suddenly one party is forced to renegotiate. Let nobody tell us that this is a done deal and we just have to accept it. That is false. The mechanisms for the contract reversals are there and they are solid. We can use them. This is from Frank Scott. And Donu Harrison says, if one person can deceive a lot of people in Parliament, then the whole country is full of jokers. Salif One Heart says, this man will never be truthful to Ghanaians. What a poor service. I'm going to take a break, and then when we come back, I think Frank Scott has raised a serious question that why can't we reverse it? There must be a clause in there somewhere that if you think you're being shortchanged, why don't you go back and use it? Stay tuned. And we are looking at the Ameri controversy. But just before the break, there was a message from Scott, which I think my guest would like to respond to. Now, let's just read it again. It says, why can't we not reverse the deal? Reversal happens all the time in contractual agreements. Yes, there is unusually a penalty to pay, but the arbitration tends to consider the buyer's risk, thereby minimizing government liability. These situations happen very often in the automobile industry, where suddenly one party is forced to renegotiate. Let nobody tell us that this is a done deal and we just have to accept it. That is false. The mechanism for contract reversals are there and they are solid. We can use them if indeed we are crying foul. Dr. Ishmael Aka.
Okay. I think that before I even come to this one, let me just say that according to one of the conditions of the contract, after raising the letter of credit, if after 90 days they don't deliver, we could have abrogated the contract. We raised this letter of credit in April, and they brought the badges in November. So we should have even cancelled the contract lot. So that was a very bad, something Ghana did not even take advantage of. We didn't punish them for anything. Consumers suffered. But coming to this, I think according to Section 29E of the contract, it says that if the parties, both Ghana and the party we've signed the agreement with, if we have that mutual understanding, we can do renegotiation. That will be very difficult because the power ministry, the government claims that, they've done a very good thing. Amery says they've not done anything wrong. So why would there be any renegotiation? There will be renegotiation only when one of the party feels that they are treated. But in this case, you had the deputy chairman. He's okay. When it comes again, they will approve it. Power ministry said the deal is okay. Everything is fine. Government says it is okay. Amery says it is okay. So that would be very, very difficult.
Kwame, so that is this thing political? Because everyone from the NDC government side sees nothing wrong with it. And then most people on the NPP side see something wrong with it. So then could it be that we are just being political? Maybe the NPP minority side think, no, if these guys get these plans on, that as, you know, if the lights come on, was out of business, so we should kick it fast?
I really and truly do not care whether it's MPP, NDC, political touting. My interest is in the Ghanaian. Have we got value for money on this project? And for me, if I were government, tomorrow I will come out and detail everything ditto from day one. How the whole thing started, the reasons behind it, why Parliament didn't see the situation where there were two middlemen in there making a certain quantity of money.
No, but we only contracted one middleman, so
Well,
the other one is not our business.
Well,
But the
who
fact
is
is,
paying the money?
it has built up, it has added to how much we are paying.
Exactly. Who is paying the money? The buck stops where? In case of any disruption, who do they point a finger to? Do they point a finger to Mr. K standing in somewhere? They point a finger to Ghana.
Kwame,
And pointing a finger to
Kwame,
Ghana
if
is
I'm-
not pointing a finger to government.
If I'm
it's
hiring
pointing a
your
finger to
services,
Ghanaians.
and you go and consult with him, he consults with her, hey, she consults with somebody. I mean, that's none of my business. I just want you to give me
Are
the
we
service.
not paying the connecting rod between all these you're saying is the payment? That is the connecting rod.
So he is splitting his profit with everybody else. I don't know how
Where
much
is that profit coming from?
So what it means, if he's splitting the profit, what it means is that we've allowed him to make what the economic call supernormal profit. It means that we negotiated for something we could have gotten for 220, and we are paying 510. Now, when you take this and maybe operational cost of about 80, then we are allowing that person to make profit of about 220 million. And that is it doesn't happen anywhere. And it is also false that Ghana is going to pay for only the fuel generated. That is a false statement. Because this is a build, own, operate, and transfer. So they've built it, they've installed it, and we are going to pay monthly. And what we are paying is one, the fuel, the cost of maintenance, plus the cost of the plant, so that next 5 years, they will transfer to us. If you are not paying for the plant, how would are they Father Christmas? How would they just say that, oh, okay, we are producing, pay just for the fuel, the power we are generating, then 5 years' time, take the plant, we are going home. It never happens anywhere.
So we are paying for the fuel?
The fuel, the maintenance, the installation, plus the plants that are in, we are paying for, because at the end of 5 years, it's just like a concession. And this is a normal 5-year concession, because they have to recoup the cost, what they use to build the plant, their operations, and all. They have to recoup it at the end of that 5 years. And where are they going to recoup it from? From us. So we are paying for all this. So it is not true. This morning I read a statement that we just pay for the fuel, and 5 years' time they will just give us the machine and go away. That is not true.
Nana, let me ask. In the long term, is this value for money for Ghana? This particular equipment that we've got, in the long term, is it value for money for Ghana?
No, you see, but the government is saying that if I had the money, I would have bought it outright. But because I don't have the money, I'm in a fix.
Even if we had the money and we bought it outright, is it value for money for Ghana in the long term?
No, because if we had the money, we would have paid the 220.
No, let's say we had the money, had the 220, and we bought it. Is it value for money for Ghana in the long term?
Well, I guess so, won't it?
Is it?
Well, we need the energy.
Let me tell you what would not make it value for money for Ghana. The fuel. The fuel. I keep saying, we can get all the IPPs or whatever in. If we don't have the fuel, it's a white elephant. And we are looking today, what has crippled VRA? What has crippled VRA? What has crippled VRA is the cost of fuel that we needed at the time Dumso started. That 3 million we're spending a day to buy the fuel. And so I'm saying that if we don't have the wherewithal to buy the ingredient that will fire these plants, don't let us go into it. Now, we should be looking forward. Studies have shown that in the next 10 to 15 years, the primary source of power would be solar. Do we pay for sunlight? How much would it cost to even start looking at manufacturing solar panels in Ghana? How much will it cost? Would it cost these amounts of money? Apart from that, don't we have KNUST in Kumasi? Is it not a science university? Can we not put the structures in place where they would start building solar panels? At least you would say that initially it's a high cost, but in the long term, does it not benefit us? Go to North Africa. What have they done in the desert? They have put up solar farms. Where are those solar farms firing that electricity they are producing to? It's firing into Europe. It's firing into Europe. Look at Mozambique and Tanzania today. They have one of the largest gas deposits in the world today. What are they thinking of doing? They are thinking of linking it into Asia. What are we doing in West Africa? Why Nigeria, which is down the road with the West African gas pipeline, where we could have sat and produced that gas for West Africa, what is happening to us? You see, not until, irrespective of the fact that we are looking for energy now, doesn't mean that we should get lost with our senses. We need to sit down and put a comprehensive energy plan together so that going forward, there's a mix, hydro, there's a mix of fossil fuels, there's a mix of wind, there's a mix of wave, there's a mix of all of those things. So that in terms of long-term investment, we don't have to invest too much in these types of things where we are spending a lot of money. Put the structure in place. So you say, we put the policy in place, our schools, our hospitals, our ministries, let's make sure that at least, if for nothing at all, even if not for electricity, for hot water alone for hospitals, let it be solar. That is where it starts from. You go to Israel today, any house you see has a solar panel on it. Can we not do it here?
Let me divert a little bit and come back to you, Doctor. Doctor, we have the 220 megawatt Pong thermal power project. So what's happening to that?
Yeah, I think that in last year's budget, there were 3 projects that were mentioned. A TICO expansion, which was to be ready in August. VRA Pong thermal plant, which was to be ready in November. Yeah. Then the Asogwe expansion, 180 megawatt, which was to be ready in November also this year. I think that with Pong thermal plant, they've started testing. Okay. And TICO 2, they started testing. Asogwe is not ready yet, but I think it will be ready maybe in the first quarter of 2016. But more importantly, these are capacities. I mean, as Kwame said, capacity, they are just machines. We have to get fuel to translate them into generation. Yeah. So, as I said, Nigeria has given us February to come and pay $171 million. If we don't pay, they may even cut gas supply. And what we have now, though later part of the year, Sankofa and Ten and Co may come, what we have now cannot fire all our plants. So we have to make sure that if we have money, let us deal with the fuel issue so that we can, even if the budgets are coming, we can get...
If VRA had money, could they solve Doomso?
Yes, I think that VRA could have solved Doomso. And for me, I think that VRA should be listed on the Ghana Stock Exchange. The government is playing a role of consumer and owner. Unfortunately, government consumes and doesn't pay. And government is not putting money to in as an owner. So list VRA, sell 49% of VRA.
Are they technically competent?
Oh, yes.
Oh, VRA is technically competent. For some time, VRA Gridco, they were one of the best state institutional we had. But because of money, financial issues, and so they are having a lot of challenges.
What didn't they do in Liberia after the war?
Why is Ministry of Power bypassing VRA?
You have to ask the Minister of Power.
I mean, VRA will be supplying gas to Amery. This plant we are discussing now, VRA will supply. VRA is providing the escrow so that if at the event that we don't pay, they will take. VRA is doing. They are playing some lead role. But what we are saying is that VRA should be financially sound, and that means, as I said, let us list so that they can get some money from the stock exchange.
Going forward, 30 seconds.
Going forward, I think there is a clear distinction between transparency and accountability. Going forward, I think Ghanaians, at least from this point on, need to know every little detail, because it's the taxpayer who has to pay these things. Government should put everything aside and be open enough to let Ghanaians realize what is going on, because these things, they don't speak well for the country Ghana, not only for government, for the country Ghana.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. All too soon, that's what time will allow us. In talking to the birthday boy, Dr. Ishmael Aka, Head of Policy Unit ASEP, and lawyer Kwame Jantua, who's an energy expert. But you know what, I have a feeling I will call them back to be discussing this issue again, because somebody will release an issue and they'll have to come and explain it to us. My name is Anan Sakwa. This has been PM Express, ably produced by Aisha Ibrahim. Tomorrow we'll be back to do this all over again. Thank you very much. Guys, thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.